As you can see, I call this the Power-Usability Matrix. And a thing that you will see a lot in this series is matrices. I love matrices. I think they're so powerful as not just an explanatory device, but also a thinking device. Because there's so many times where I'll be thinking about a problem and I'll realize, oh, yeah, so there's two solutions, obviously, and it all depends on whether you have, this one aspect on or off. Okay, cool. But there's also a third. Oh yeah, yeah. And then that's a hint to me. Whenever I have two things, same variable on off or different levels, high, low, whatever, and then there's a third one, and there's this what's distinct here? It's another variable. Okay, let me put that in screen. That just screams to me that there's something else over here. And if that's true, there's a matrix. It helps me uncover blind spots a lot. All right, back to this actual matrix though. I'll explain what it is here, and then I'll be placing products on here. This is pretty self-explanatory. How easy is a product to use? This flex power, that's not quite as obvious, but I call it flex power because it's short for flexible power. So it's both how powerful a product is and how flexible it is in how you can use it. For instance, if there's a product that only does task management, it's only going to go so high on this scale. But if something does task management and note taking and event planning, then that could rise all the way to the top if each of those are very powerful. If each of those are really weak, you can only do a little bit with each of these, then it's in the same boat as something that only has one feature or one product use and it does it really well. I hope that makes sense. So you can see that it goes from red to green. So basically, the further you move up and to the right, the better, the more powerful, and the easier to use it is. That makes sense. What you end up getting, though, is the best products tend to be in this, what I call the golden slope. Why not here? Because everything has trade-offs. Typically, if you have something that has really high flex power, it's often not going to be the easiest to use because that much power in so many ways and configurations, it's just going to be really complex, no matter who designs it. On the other hand, the ease of use, something is super duper usable. Okay, that probably means it's relatively simple. How do you make something that's the most powerful thing existing in the market and the easiest thing to use in the market? Good luck with that. So what I'm calling here the representative field is I picked, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different products here. We've got Airtable up and to the left, very powerful, one of the least easy to use among all of these. On the other hand, we've got Trello, so intuitive to use. I love that aspect of Trello, not the most powerful. You've also got Google Docs. Yeah, really easy. One of the least powerful, really. Okay, the rest, there's Evernote, RemNote, Roam Research, Jira, and Coda. Now, something that I want to point out is this DDZ. That is what I'm calling the deceptively dead zone. You notice a lot of clumping here. This is a really good place to be, actually, because if you make something super easy to use, and if you're focusing on just one kind of use case, it's really easy to have a saleable product. It can have mass appeal because it's so easy to use, and you're focusing on just one thing. You can really nail down the marketing and sales pitch and everything for that. On the other hand, there's definitely markets for things like Airtable. People who do not want the limitations of these things. They want the power, and they're perfectly fine with the complexity. So that's also great. It's easy to think that landing somewhere in the middle would be the perfect compromise. And as an intellectual exercise, that is totally true. When it comes to practical reality, however, medium power means you're not just focusing on one use case. You either have several use cases that you're pretty good at, or even more use cases that you're just barely meeting expectations. So that could be one problem already right there. But on top of that, it's only so usable. So you've got this flexibility and this power, but the power only goes so far. And you've got the usability, but the usability only goes so far. Okay, so you can see how it's tied with everything else, but why is it a deceptively dead zone? Well, that's because the benefits of each of those use cases and the usability, the benefits do not compound, but the drawbacks do. So you tend to end up with products that are simple if you zoom in to any particular use case or any particular customer vertical, any particular thing. But taken as a whole, if you ever need to do more than that one use case or stray from there or try to use the product as a whole, you often have a bundle of experiences that don't work together and end up in the aggregate being kind of unusable. And it's not for the benefits of being super powerful like Airtable. So I recommend to not aim for this area actually. Now, you probably noticed I put Jira in this dead zone as well. And this is where maybe I should have put asterisks next to Google Docs and Jira, because these products do not exist on their own. Not really. They exist as part of larger ecosystems that hook into each other, especially Jira. Jira on its own technically goes deep on task management, but that's it, really. But because it integrates with other Atlassian products and a ton of plugins from third-party vendors and all sorts of things, then depending on how you set up Jira and how deep into the ecosystem you go, when you think of Jira, you may actually be thinking of a collection of things that pushes it up here or pushes it over here. But Jira on its own, I do place in the dead zone. And I think that's why you see a surprisingly large number of competitors out in the world to precisely the same use case as Jira as it stands alone, you know? And it's a similar story with the Google Docs. Moving on from there, this is where I put Notion. So it's kind of like at the midway point between Coda and Airtable on this golden slope. But it's not just on the slope, it's kind of like it's edging into the green area. Let me get rid of the DDZ. It's kind of ugly. This is like kind of Notion on its own. If you're familiar with Notion at all, you know that Notion has a very active community of people who build things using Notion. If you're building your own things in Notion, then that's super powerful and it's on this slope, you know? But if someone has built something for you in Notion, it's possible for the experience to be more here. It's hard to translate the full power of any product like that and the full capabilities into any particular product that is derived from that. So, you know, you're never going to be as powerful as the OG, but the products that people build inside Notion, using Notion, and then sell these templates or whatever you want to call them to other people, they tend to be much more user-friendly in the experience of how to use them and manipulate them than Notion itself. And so let me bring the DDZ back, because I think this is a very clever thing that I don't know if Notion planned this, but it's the reality of the situation. You see how Notion has effectively positioned themselves on either side of the DDZ. I want to be clear. The golden slope and the DDZ, I didn't come up with those names or those terms or the visuals until after I placed all the products where I thought they belong, including the derivative products. Well, I say that to tell you that I was not trying to fit anyone on the slope or inside the zone or just outside. This is just how it happened to be. I think that this explains a lot of Notion's success as a product. All right, so I'll keep this up here. What about Tana? So this is where I would place Tana today. It's in the similar ballpark as Notion and Airtable, but it's not as powerful and it's not as easy to use. It just isn't. When you look at what builders are able to do with Tana today, it's not as impressive, I would say, as what people are able to do with Notion. It's less powerful than, Tana Prime, and it's only a little bit easy. It's veering into this deceptive dead zone, which I think explains a lot about kind of the vibe that I get from the Tana Slack community. Even with the templates that builders provide to people, there's still issues of, I feel like I should be able to use this better. I thought I was smarter than this, But where I think Tana is going, I think future Tana is going to be up here. Okay? So more powerful than anything else. I think that because of that power, that Tana, the base product, is going to struggle to be more usable than Notion. I think that's going to be a fact for them. I could be wrong, but I do think that Tana will be able to, it's already, I put it as a little bit more usable than Airtable, but it's going to be clearly more usable than Airtable in the future. Yeah, which is actually very impressive considering how I placed them at the top of the flex power. Now, what about the derivatives of Tana? Okay, what can they do? Is it going to be more like this or more like that? More like that, more like Notion. I think that this is going back to how, like, the theory of how Tana works, how it's built, and how you can use it. I think that can be leveraged to such an extent that products that are derived from Tana Prime, is what I'm calling like the base Tana, they're going to still be able to retain almost all of the power, but the builders will be able to package that in such a way that it's also very easy to use. About the same ease of use, maybe even better, as things built with Notion today. Now here's the really exciting thing, and kind of a bold prediction, I guess. When something moves into a position like this, it's not on the golden slope. It's not even close to the golden slope. It's way up in the upper right corner. Total green space. Green as far as the eye can see. Realistically, that only happens when a product is able to transcend its category. So this is a way of me saying that I believe that Tana has the capability to be a transcendent software tool. Hi, I'm End Screen Nick. You're seeing me because you finished a video by regular Nick. If you want to see similar videos, you can click here for a whole playlist of them. If you want to see the conversation that this clip came from, click here. Cheers.